Hey folks, it's Wayne Parker with a little operational tour of Sky Park 695 Sky Park Court. I'm going to walk down Sky Park Way here for a moment. I'll just walk through the house and the grounds and show you a few things. Maybe easier to explain via video. And we have seen plans to extend this Sky Park Way and have some development down below. But that always seems to be halted for some reason. So I don't know about the current status of that. These are juniper planted some years ago that replaced some hedge that was damaged by storm. If it snows heavy, it'd be good to knock the snow off of these, which is what we try to do every year to keep those healthy. And then we have co-responsibility for this area between, and Jason next door paid to have it cut this year. Maybe your turn next year. He has a guy who will do that. You can communicate with him about that, and he is on the neighbor list. All right, back to the house. So congratulations, you are owners of a street lamp. Well, sort of. It used to be operational when the bulb burned out, and it was going to be incredibly expensive to replace. There's one of these up on Pineview Court, and there's nothing that you need to do. You may notice that there is a loose electrical wire in the ground over here, and it just kind of sits there. It could be taken up. I didn't know if there was some future use for street lamps. I didn't destroy it. So it's there, but somebody would have to, the homeowners association or somebody would have to pay to replace that street lamp, and it connects into the electrical outlet that you see there, and there is the gas meter, and that metal thing is a turn-off, emergency turn-off for the gas meter if needed. And the delivery person for the post office sometimes tends to run into that sprinkler head. That's why the stone is there to protect it. So down at the end of the sidewalk, these are the water boxes for the water main and the sprinkler systems. And in the corner of the RV bay is the junction box for all of the electrical. And then this outlet is a 240 volt plug-in for an electric vehicle. So you've seen all this. The fluorescent lights above are covered in a metal sheath, and so that protects basketballs that go too high. So there is a bell at the top of the climbing wall, and kids used to go up and clank the bell when they got to the top. And those hooks were installed by a carpenter, and they will support, I don't know how much weight, but they will support a climbing rope and a reasonable amount of weight. And this is the controller for the sprinkler systems. There's one up above and one newer one down below. And you've got a map where all of those zones are, and those correspond to the dial here on the sprinkler controller box. Okay, these stands with drawers and the table and the thing that we use as a pantry, it's all works well. It's not in great shape, but there's that. And then this is the battery for the electric mower. Okay, into the basement, that's the whole house vacuum cleaner, and this drops down from these clamps, and the filter can be cleaned. And then over here is the timer for the upper outdoor lighting and a fire extinguisher there. The whole house vacuum cleaner is so. We got a bid for replacing it, and it was just too expensive. So we continued to use it. I like the portable. Leslie likes this, so we've kept it. And here in the basement, I'll give you an idea of where we are. There's a turnoff at the main of the water at that main system that I showed you down the street, but there is a whole house water turn-off valve that's hard to notice right there. And over the years, we did have some water in here. We went to great lengths to try and keep it out. In really, really heavy extended rains, some water can form in here. We think it's limited enough not to be a problem. And then there's a crawl space that goes back there. And then this is a funky system. There is a filter that needs to be replaced periodically. There's one here, and then there are 3 upstairs. I'll show you those in a moment. So the water heater is old. This tubing on the right was replaced when it was. I think it got some silt into the system that may have affected a valve, or maybe just one valve, but I'll show you that when we're upstairs. Oh, and Leslie left bonus clippers for you in case you need them. All right, and into the sports closet. 2 basketballs probably need air, a little bit of AstroTurf, and some near golf balls, and a couple of pitching wedges, a wedge and a 9-iron. That's really cool to pitch from the patio down to the lower yard. Of course, it's going to end up with lots of golf balls in the bushes, so there's the trade-off with that. And then this does go around. You may have seen extra storage behind. And then this was the air conditioner for the wine cellar, and the wire was cut, but it could be restored if anybody wanted to turn this into a full-blown wine cellar again. So nothing new about the laundry room. I don't think that you don't know already. You'll have to the pegboard if you want it. The washer, these are both relatively new within the last year. The washer really kind of shakes, and it seems like more than it should. So we put cushions underneath, and that helped, but it still does that. So I don't know what else to tell you about that. Okay, the playroom is great, and there's that ductless air conditioner there. And then, you may have seen this, on either side is a secret room. And here's the one with painted clouds over on the other side, so this house has huge amounts of storage. Okay, and about those beams, they are not load-bearing, so don't go crawling out on those to clean them. I clean them from below with the ladder. The fireplace has a damper. It is gas-powered, and the control is here with the handle for that over there, and just make sure that the damper's open, obviously. And nothing really to tell you about the office or the guest room, and that this is a seldom used door that does go out onto the deck. Okay, fancy sink. For some reason it wasn't installed exactly level, and it tends to collect water over here on the left, and that's been a bear to get that completely clean. Okay, one guest bedroom. Only thing about this is there is no window covering over that upper window, and somebody might think there is a lot of light coming in early in the morning. That's always one consideration. I just had a simple wood covering for that, but just something to consider in the future. This is one of the 3 vent filters that needs to be replaced periodically. One of the 3 that's upstairs. The other one you saw was within the furnace flue. Okay, we are inside the south guest bedroom, or second, third bedroom, whatever. And there is the access to the attic. So it needs a ladder to get up there. There is on the right a switch that turns on lighting for the attic. Okay, up, down blinds there, here in the master bedroom. And inside this closet are really the original plans for the house. I just left them in here in case you want them, or for some kind of historic value, or feel free to toss them, I guess. And on the right side, when all of this was renovated some years ago, they put in an adapter or a controller that's required that limits the temperature. So if you can't get super hot water, that's the reason. And I mentioned that when the water heater tubing was replaced, there might have been some silt that got into certain fixtures. This doesn't seem to have full flow, and it's probably an easy fix, but I don't know. If it bothers you, you could have a plumber look at that. And this is the controller for the heated floor here in the bathroom. And here is the entryway closet. The house does have a fancy, very old security system, which has not been used for some time and replaced instead by a couple of exterior cameras. And then also it has, per current code, a number of smoke detectors and CO2 detectors or carbon monoxide detectors all over the place. Now I think 5 total. All right, so we love this patio. I tend to polish it or wax it about once a year. I have to wait in the summer till it's dry for several days and a little warmer. But that does make a lot of difference over the year. That will diminish. And here to the right of the patio is the controller for the lower lights. That is the timer for the lights, the outdoor lighting that serves the back half and north half of the house and yard. And there's the air handler unit for the condenser for the upstairs. The ignition spark for the grill doesn't work, so we use long matches to do that. So I don't know if it were cleaned up with a new cover, probably would be fine if we were staying. That's probably what I would have done ultimately. Over in this area underneath in the corner, it's all sealed up with mesh wire now. There was a time when there was an opening there and we had various critters get under the patio. So as far as I know, I think we're sealed up with that now. So gates here, and the gates should be closed, or you may find deer in the backyard. That's happened to us a number of times. And we had to put in a second gate here because we discovered that the deer would actually use the porch. Okay, and steps down to the first landing. The place does get yellow jackets, so there are yellow jacket traps scattered around different places, and I left some extra bait in the basement. And one of the things that can happen with the playhouse, not so much lately, but it can get wasp up under the eave and inside. So I don't know what else there is to tell you. There are blueberry bushes at the end of the vegetable garden space, and they're producing right now, so I hope you enjoy the blueberries. And they can take a little bit of fertilizer during the year, but I think that's about all. If I think of anything else, I'll send it along in some fashion. So enjoy.